If you have IBS, you have probably been wondering what foods you should and shouldn't eat to ease your IBS symptoms. And this is truly a vital question to ask because food really does have an extremely big role in gut health. In this video, I will uncover foods, or really types of foods, that are detrimental to gut health. Usually, you might see in these kinds of videos FODMAPs or gluten being mentioned, but that's not going to happen today, and I will tell you why. So continue watching to find out what foods or food types I recommend you to consider minimizing and why FODMAPs aren't one of them. I'm Anna-Kaisa. I'm a registered dietitian specializing in IBS, and I have spent hundreds of hours researching IBS and compiling all the information into an online program called IBS Wise. The first food, or really type of food, I will recommend you to minimize is high-fat foods. And I mean things like French fries, donuts, chips, and other deep-fried processed foods, not nuts and seeds, nothing like that. And this is because, well, there are many reasons for this. One of them is that high-fat foods like these can be harmful to the gut barrier. And what I mean by gut barrier, it is the barrier between the things inside the intestines, like the food you've been eating, and your body, basically. So essentially, what you want is that the nutrients that you eat, vitamins, minerals, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, that those things go from the inside the intestines into your body so that you can utilize those nutrients. But what you don't want is that harmful things like toxins or bacteria would cross into your blood. So having a gut barrier that's in good shape is very important for gut health. And high-fat foods, like I said, can damage this gut barrier. High-fat foods also can affect how fast things move in your intestines, like the food you ate, mainly slowing things down in the stomach, in the small intestine. But on the flip side of that, it actually can make things move faster in the large intestine because there's this reflex called gastrocolic reflex. So when you're eating a high-fat meal, it lands in your stomach, and the receptors in your stomach notice that this is a high-fat meal. And this triggers the gastrocolic reflex, meaning the stomach tells the large intestine that there's more food coming, move along, get out of here, basically. And that can result even in diarrhea, especially if you are sensitive, and most people with IBS are quite sensitive to high-fat foods like this. So it can slow things down, but also make things happen faster. And that gastrocolic reflex can actually be quite uncomfortable when it happens very forcefully, which is often the case with high-fat foods. With high-fat meals, gas bubbles also don't move forward as easily, which can mean that this gas kind of pools into bigger pockets, and this stretches the gut wall more, which can be very uncomfortable, even painful for people with IBS. The second thing I want to mention is low fiber diet. So basically this is a whole diet, not necessarily a specific food, but not having enough fiber in your diet is detrimental to gut health because, again, fiber is really necessary for keeping the gut barrier healthy. Because your gut microbes, your friendly, healthy gut bacteria, they eat fiber as their nutrition. And when they do that, they don't eat the mucus layer that is very important, the first layer on top of your intestinal lining. If they don't have fiber, the microbes will start eating that mucus because it has things that they can eat. And that can make your gut barrier become damaged. Whereas if you have fiber in your diet, then they will eat that fiber and don't have to touch the mucus layer. When gut microbes eat this fiber, they make these little molecules called short-chain fatty acids, and those are anti-inflammatory molecules, and they also can help keeping this mucus layer in great shape. When your good bacteria are thriving, they're basically crowding out any pathogenic bacteria so that they cannot multiply and grow and cause problems. So there are multiple reasons for why fiber is such an important nutrient in your diet, and a low fiber diet can be very detrimental to gut health. Third diet-related factor that I really recommend you to consider is not to eat a lot of foods that are low in nutrients, because nutrients like vitamins and minerals are very important for the body to function well, including the gut. For example, vitamins A and D are needed, again, keeping the gut barrier healthy. But these nutrients also play a role in keeping our immune system healthy, especially in the gut, so that they can fight pathogenic bacteria if they're trying to invade. Foods that are high in nutrients like vitamin A and D are also very beneficial for the gut microbes. The next factor I want to mention is fructose, namely high fructose corn syrup that you would find in a lot of processed foods. This is a nutrient that can also negatively affect the gut barrier and allow for things that you don't want in the bloodstream to cross. We need a little bit more research on this, but so far it looks like fructose, especially for something like high fructose corn syrup, can damage the gut lining. And finally, going on to the last point, which is additives. Foods that have a lot of additives, like processed foods, packaged foods, they tend to be high in different kinds of additives like emulsifiers, sweeteners, and things like that. And there is some research that shows that some of these molecules, some of these additives are not that great for your gut health, again, for the gut barrier. We definitely need more research on this, but what all this means together is avoid a Western type diet. You know, that classic American diet of barbecued, fast foods, fried foods, packaged foods, quick foods, things that are easy, high in fat, and very tasty. That kind of diet is high in fats, it's high in processed foods with emulsifiers, with additives, with fructose, it's low in fiber, it's low in almost all nutrients. So all in all, the gist of the video is do not eat a Western type, American diet, and instead look for foods that are high in nutritional value, high in fiber. And this is why I don't think that FODMAPs are really the issue, because FODMAPs are fiber. They are these prebiotics that our gut microbes eat as their nutrition, as their fuel, and they will then thrive and function well. So if you avoid all FODMAPs, you're not giving your gut microbes the food they need to keep you healthy. I have many more reasons for why the low FODMAP diet is not my first choice for IBS management. Here is a video I made about the topic. Go check that out if you'd like to know more. I definitely recommend you to go watch it if you are at all considering the low FODMAP diet. And the other thing I want to mention now is that diet is always highly individual. It's a very individualized matter, because what I'm talking about now is like a template on which to build. We are all different, and different foods affect us differently. Someone might be okay with higher fat foods in bigger quantities, and for some, even a little bit of fries will be a big problem. And so you always have to take everything with a grain of salt and consider your own unique situation before you implement any changes. And while this advice might seem very basic, very kind of simple, some people actually do get relief from their IBS symptoms simply by following basic nutritional guidelines, your general idea of what a healthy diet is. So while it might seem simple, These are very powerful, fundamental concepts that we're talking about, and you should never just overlook something because it sounds simple. Now, I don't really recommend completely avoiding a food because we do not want to become fanatical about diet. Diet should also be something that you enjoy, and some of these foods I mentioned today are very tasty, and so if you really enjoy some of these fried foods or high sugar foods or packaged foods, go ahead and enjoy them, but enjoy them in moderation. If you'd like to have all this information that I covered today in a written format, I have a blog post on this topic at akwise.co/blog. Thank you for sticking with me until the end to learn about the foods, or really types of foods, that you should avoid if you have IBS. If you have any comments or suggestions, why don't you pop them in the comments so that I can cover topics that are really important to you, because I am here to help you feel better and ease your gut symptoms. Don't forget to check out that video on why the low FODMAP diet should not be a first-line treatment for IBS. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.